And we're live. Welcome back, Shifties. Welcome back to Shift the Journey. I'm your host, Tito Amogus. Today's guest is my friend Andy. Andy has been involved in some of the coolest cartoons. I remember, so like right before we went on, I said I was gonna tell you about something, but I remember we were at Crosspoint
Yeah.
and my sister's family came to visit, and my you were sitting there, and my nephew was there, and he was, I don't remember how old he was. This is like 9, 11, or whatever. And I told him, I said, hey, this is my friend Andy, and he used to work on Veggie Tales. And so he started talking. You were sitting there talking with him for like, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes.
I
And
forgot
he's
about
like,
that, but that's
he's,
I remember that now.
yeah, he was like, oh, that was the coolest conversation. I'm
Love
like,
it.
oh man. So anyway, yeah, let's just jump into it. So where are you from originally?
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Anyone familiar with Chicago? I was born in the Elgin area, and then most of my childhood was in a small town called Gilbert's. Probably not as small anymore, but even when I was in high school, people were like, Gilbert's, what is that? And I would be like, it's like 15, 20 minutes from here. But yeah, the joke when I was in high school was the signs said, welcome to the village of Gilbert's, population 852. And so our running joke was Gilbert's has a population of 852, and Andy and his brother Charlie are the two.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, speaking of
Yeah.
family, I know that you had talked about your dad being
Mm.
an artist, right? And so I know that when I when we talked before and you were talking about, being part of like production of cartoons and stuff, and then I found out, you said that your dad was an artist. I was like, man,
Yeah.
that stuff, like art, like the art stuff just runs through the families, right? So I'm sure,
Yeah,
uh, did that have like a profound effect on you when you were trying to
totally.
figure out what to do?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my dad, he worked at home. So he had a art studio in our basement. Um, and uh, and yeah, he worked on everything from album covers to pinball machines to commercial art, to the point where like the grocery store was one of his art museums. We would go there, and like he would have illustrated apple summer apple juice and Kool-Aid
What?
labels and lifesaver packages, and did some of the illustrations for McDonald's or for Happy Meals. And so we constantly had like fun, and a lot of those they would send reference to the house. So we would
Okay.
have the McDonald's design Bible and production Bible at our house with info about all the characters, or certain illustrations. My brother and I would help my dad out with photo sessions. So he might be designing something or illustrating something for a certain juice, and naked juice. He did some of those labels too.
Okay. Yeah.
Granted, they update labels every so
Yeah.
number of years, so he still has some labels out there. Skippy peanut butter too, but yeah, every few number of years they give it a refresh with a different artist. So for
Okay.
certain periods of time, though, a lot of those items had or have his illustrations on them. But if it was like a juice, sometimes we would do photo sessions where my dad would be at the camera and he would be like, 1, 2, 3, go. And we might drop like a berry into a thing of juice or whatever. And he would
Oh.
photograph it just to get the splashes right. Um,
Oh.
and then he would take those and use it as reference to paint splashes. Or man, for pinball machines, we used to pose as characters on pinball
Oh,
machines.
I remember you posted something about your brother
Yeah.
being, one of the characters on a pinball machine. Man, that's so cool.
He
So, like,
has he has so many crazy photos of my brother, my mom, myself, or sometimes we would take pictures of him either in very boring poses or just hilarious poses for whatever book or pinball machine it may have been. So, yeah,
so
yeah.
I bet that was a lot of fun growing up. So, Like when you grew up, and you're like in high school, and then you're thinking about going to college or whatever. What was your focus? Did you know exactly like what kind of route you wanted to take, or did you
Not
find that later on?
exactly, not exactly, but definitely within the realm.
Hmm.
And actually, before I get to that, let
Yeah.
me go back for a minute to when I was a really little kid, and my dad had that art studio in the basement. I don't know how old I was, but somewhere in there, maybe six, seven, something like that. On the other side of the basement, there were two halves, and he had his office door in between. But I would have my own little drawing desk in the next room over, and I would draw something, and then I would get on my little kid tricycle, and I had a little mini kid portfolio, and I would get it
Oh
in,
my
and I
gosh.
would imitate my dad driving into downtown Chicago to meet with an art director and get out his art,
Oh.
and meet an art director and get notes back, and then going home. But I I would pretend like I was going to Chicago on my little tricycle in the basement, and I rode into his office, and I would pull whatever I drew out of the portfolio, and
That's
he'd be the
awesome.
art director, and he was like, "Oh, I really like this here, but I think you should make some revisions on this. This one here is ready for colors, so there you go. There's the next steps: is do another version of this and move on to color with that." And I'd pack up my portfolio and ride back into the next room. Yeah. So
That's so awesome.
that process became very relevant to what I'm doing today. Not as an actual artist, but I depending on the job. Sometimes I'm in leadership, sometimes I'm a coordinator with a group, but I do work with designers who go through all of those same steps, and I'm responsible for like tracking and making sure that the art director's notes are well communicated or the client's notes are well communicated for those artists' next steps and that they know what they are.
That's really
Um,
cool.
but yeah, no, going back to high school, I was heavily involved with the theater department.
Hmm.
I was a huge Disney fan. And then anytime that there was a class project, like if we had to do a project on a book, I would want to, and most of my teachers were very open minded and creative. And so it didn't have to be a book report. I could make a video about it, or one of my
Oh,
friends would make a video about it. And so we had our core group that would come together, and it was your high school video. We would like tell the story of a book or a lesson that we were doing in high school. It was filled with inside jokes, but also got the story or the point across. And so yeah, we had a lot of fun with that, and I knew in high school that I wanted to do something in some kind of storytelling, creative place where I could help be part of that. In high school, I was thinking more theater. I thought that was going to be my route. But everybody kept on saying, no, you're going to work in cartoons someday.
well, it's like prophetic. What in the world?
Right. Well, I was such a big Disney fan, and
Yeah.
yeah, always talked about the latest Disney movie and stuff like that, um, and the artistic streak from my dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I graduated from school, uh, my original thought was that I was going to major in theater and minor in film. I ended up doing the opposite of that. I ended up
Okay.
majoring in film and minoring in theater. And I also, my dad had an understanding with me. Both my parents coming, being very creative people. Oh, I should also mention my mom had a big creative streak too. My mom
Okay.
more, not as much on the career side, but
Mhm.
so involved with with school projects for both my brother and I. In my
Oh, nice.
brother's elementary school, she came in as a volunteer and really helped build up the art program there. She taught
Oh, cool.
as a volunteer, just did a lot of teaching and a lot of activities and stuff
Oh,
like that. In my high school, she helped with costume design. So a lot of my high school friends got to know my mom. And in fact, some of my high school friends referred to my parents as their other parents, you
oh,
know.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah. But my dad, having been through that art world and still being in that art world and knowing that a lot of those creative fields can go like this in terms
Yeah.
of busyness versus gaps in between jobs and
Oh,
stuff like
yeah.
that. My dad was very insistent that and my parents helped me financially with
Uh-huh.
college, and so
Yeah.
their deal was that they wanted to encourage that and help that as long as I took some business classes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
We were kind of talking about, I mean, he was open and flexible with it if it was officially a minor in business or just some business classes, but that yeah, they would support me with film or theater stuff or what
Yeah.
I felt passionate about doing, but to have some business classes
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
marketing classes and understanding budgets and stuff like that in
Yeah.
my back pocket. Um,
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's such a parent thing because, I mean, it's not for no reason that there is a term struggling artist, right? Or starving artist, right?
yeah.
Like, I come from a very artistic family as well, mostly like music. My dad painted also. He painted this painting here
Oh,
the day
nice.
that I was born. And so when my
Really
mom was like, "Hey, your dad wants to give you this," I was like, "Oh, yeah, totally." So every time I come in my office, I see that and I remember my dad. Rest in
sweet.
peace.
Yeah.
But I I grew up with a lot of people who like their parents were friends with my parents, so we were all musical. And some of them, went on to become professional musicians, teachers, like music teachers and stuff. And when their parents would talk about them, they're like, "Oh yeah, he's starving artist," or like this and that, and because yeah, it's really up and down.
Mhm.
So where did you end up going to school?
Southern Illinois University.
Okay,
Yep.
Salukis.
Saluki is very
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't know what a Saluki is, but it's an Egyptian dog.
Dog. Yeah, yeah. I knew that. I knew that.
Good for you.
Oh wait, pause real quick. We
Yeah.
got somebody. Oh hi, Pastor Carlos. How's it going? Oh, that reminds me. I need to be better at this. Like I was saying to Andy in the studio, but this is not just a chat between Andy and me. If you guys have something to say, you have a comment or you have a question, throw it in the chat, and then if it's appropriate, please be appropriate because my mom watches this. I'll put it on the screen and then we can talk about it. So anyway, all right, let's go back. So
Yeah.
you're a Saluki.
I am a Saluki, yeah, and I majored in the cinematography department down there. And I'll tell you, I got some. I I had a great time in college. I really enjoyed it down there. The program gave me a lot of great stuff, as well as 2 semesters of a Hollywood internship, interning out in LA. Um, Also, it was a very interesting time because it was during the kind of the influx of digital media
Oh,
the school had not gotten to a place. Now they're there now, but when I was there, it had not gotten to a place that embraced computers and
oh.
video and so our program, now there was a separate TV department, but TV and film were totally different.
Hmm.
We were not allowed to touch a computer or video camera or
Oh,
video editing software. It was all film and working with negatives and work prints and telecine editing
Ooh.
machines and magnetic audio tape um, and uh, and some of that was just a royal pain, but at the same time, it builds a respect for the history of how things have been done, and it
Yeah.
also builds an understanding of so many of the softwares that we use today. The same thing is true for artists that use Illustrator or Photoshop, or animators
Mhm.
their that use their softwares. I mean, everything is named and kind of structured based on some of the old names that come from conforming old negatives, and the names of transitions are sometimes based on when you would take a what do you call, like the not a crayon, but like a wax pencil or something,
Right.
and write the symbol of what kind of a transition on your work print film,
Oh.
whether you want that to be a crossfade or a fade in, fade out. And so when it goes to the film developer to work with your
Mhm.
negative, they know what to do with it in developing the final print. And a lot of those things have the same names that we use today, but they're it's a button or setting somewhere. And
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting.
looking back, I love the fact that I got to do that. I didn't love it when I was spending all nighter in the editing labs. The worst that it got, Tito, I was working on one of my films, and like many college students, I didn't structure my time
Yeah.
as well as I could. I could have been ahead of the game, and that week it was due, I was pulling all nighters to get it done, and I was in the way that the editing machine worked is the film reels were on top to make your edits, and the audio controls for the magnetic audio strips were underneath. So you had to reach under the
Oh.
table to play or rewind or fast forward your audio to find the exact spot that you want to sync it up with your film. And I had been doing so much of that in the audio editing that in the short amount of hours that I did go home and sleep and my alarm clock went off, I was
I
so
mean,
out of it that I would sit up in bed and put my fingers underneath the night table, thinking that it was my film, trying to stop it and rewind the sound. And I'm just like not even awake, pressing imaginary buttons on the bottom of my nightstand.
Oh, man, that is classic.
So
That's
I'm
funny.
I respect it. I love that I learned it that way. And I mean, gosh, there's still filmmakers out there that love working with that physical stuff. I personally am glad we don't have to do that anymore. I have embraced the
That's a lot of
digital world
time.
and really, really enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So, when you were in college, did you do any internships?
Yes. Yeah. I went out to LA 2 summers in a row through the school. They have, they had and have a lot of TV and film people plugged in out there. And
Mm.
so, yeah, I interned at a company called 1171 Productions out there. They did music videos, commercial shoots, uh, both production and post production. And before streaming, the big thing was doing special features for, you would have a DVD release, and then the DVD would have a bunch of special features and
Right.
stuff, right? So
Oh.
so yeah, for the music videos, I was more of a PA on set, sometimes doing what they call grip work or
Okay, what is that? I see that in the credits and I was like, I don't know what that is. What's a key
okay, so
grip? What
there's
is that?
yeah, so uh I mean, there's so many there's also, I don't know if it's still used, but Best Boy, you'll see
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes in the
I've seen that.
credits.
I'm like, what is that? Is that somebody that's like giving this little 9-year-old kid giving a toast at a wedding reception? I don't know what that is.
um, okay, it's been so long since I've been in that world, so uh, I don't want to mix them up. But I mean, the kind of stuff I was doing, I was helping to lay out cables.
Okay.
I didn't touch any of the cameras because an
Very
intern's not going to be
expensive.
doing that.
Oh
But
yeah.
I assisted with whatever the camera people needed set up. I would unwrap and wrap up a lot of cords. I knew the official way that was like the grip approved way of wrapping a cord, because
Okay, yeah.
you don't want to just do that because it
Right.
causes kinks in the cord. You
Coils,
do it
yeah.
in a way that it'll straighten out rather than be all curly.
Right.
A lot of stuff like that. Sometimes I would just be a stand-in before the actors or singers would get to set, and I would go stand where they were going to be for 20 minutes while they got the cameras positioned right and the lighting just right. Um,
Did you meet any famous people?
yes. The most exciting part of that summer, at the end of the summer, they so I think they were double booked, which was not an issue because they had two teams that could go out and
Mhm.
do two completely different projects. One of the producers totally was just beyond sick, could not go to set. And so they sent me out to do to basically be the on-set producer for a series of PSAs with Edward James Olmos.
Really?
Yeah. It was
Wow.
for the Boys Club of America.
Okay.
And I mean, man, this is before I really found my voice to be any kind of a leader or anything. So,
Yeah.
I mean, my friends that I hung out with knew me as a crazy, loud, fun guy. But on a set, I was very quiet and meek and unsure of myself
Yeah.
during that time. And he was just the most supportive guy. So I
Wow.
was thrown into that with little preparation. They gave me what the script was, and there was a 15-minute PSA, a 15-second PSA, a 30-second version, and then a 1-minute version. And someone like Edward James Olmos, uh, he nails it really
Yeah.
fast. And
He's got a lot of experience.
yeah, and I'm there, and I have to ask for, even though he nails it the first time, it's like, okay, let's get a second take for coverage. And and again, like I don't feel like I should be asking for that, but that's a typical thing. You always get more than one take.
Yeah.
But I was a little starstruck. Interesting story. Last year, I met Edward James Olmos again, and I got to tell him I was a intern and like showed up without much preparation for this PSA you did for Boys Club of America. And you were so supportive of me, even though I didn't know what I was doing. And I got my picture taken with him. Do I have it here? No, I've got it over there. I have to get it framed.
Did he
But yeah,
remember you?
no, no. I think no, he remembered the PSA, but
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, that was so many years
Oh
ago.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't even ask him if he remembered me.
Yeah. So when you were getting finishing up with school, did you already have a job lined up or did you have
No,
to what
no, no. Um, no. I knew some things that I was pretty interested in
mm,
that I wanted to do. Uh, so moved back to Chicago and lived with my parents again for a year. just over a year. And I was um, back then, now it's all online, but back then I went downtown to buy what was known as the Chicago Production Bible. And it was a thick book with just every category of film and TV and a listing of every company in the Chicago area that did that kind of stuff. And so I would just look through there, and some of them I was interested in before I looked them up and reached out. Others of them were just cold calling or sending in resumes. But yeah, I remember the days of like going through that production Bible. I worked at Target for a while I was looking for that first
Mm.
job. Um, Two places that I was so interested in that you know, I really thought, being a new guy with a lot of inspiration and everything. There was a place in Chicago that did quite a bit of little Marvel projects that I
Oh,
was really
really?
interested in. Yeah. Not the main cartoon shows that you saw, but little they did shorts or little side projects or commercials
Mhm.
with animation in it. And that seemed like a really cool place.
Mhm.
Um, I sent him my resume. I kept calling him back. They invited me in to meet them, and but that didn't lead to anything. The other
Oh.
one was one of my friends, Josh from college, got a job at a studio called Big Idea Productions, and
Yeah.
yeah, what
Oh, yeah.
that is the studio that produced and animated VeggieTales, and
If you like to talk to tomatoes.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So I applied there too, and to date, that was the kindest, most incredible rejection letter that I've ever.
What?
It was a letter addressed from Bob the Tomato and Larry the Cucumber,
What?
thanking confirming that they received my resume and that they'd love to keep in touch, but they at that time they didn't have many positions open, but that they were going to hold on to my resume
Mm.
and that we can keep in touch. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I didn't get in there. Um, but disappointing, but they let me down easy with a fun rejection letter. And so yeah, I kept looking. I was not crazy about the Target job. But it was
Yeah,
good to have.
retail.
It was good. Yeah, it was good to have while I was looking there.
Yeah.
My dad would remind me of things like working in creative fields is 90%, 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. And I was like, whatever. I hated hearing things like that. Um,
That's so funny.
but eventually I did end up landing some recurring weekly freelance jobs with video production companies in Chicago. One of them was every Friday. I worked on a weekly TV show. I don't know if you've ever heard of the TV Block Weekend Marketplace. I don't I I don't know if it still exists. It's one of those things that in the Chicago area it aired at like 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. on
Oh,
Sunday mornings.
yeah.
So the group I worked with only worked on a 30-minute segment of that
Mhm.
because it was made up of a bunch of different segments. And that 30-minute segment was shot at the Chicago Board of Trade building. And it was basically the way I used to explain it back then, that was during a time when Bill Maher's Politically Incorrect was on the air.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would tell my friends is it's just like Bill Maher's Politically Incorrect, with a host and 4 panelists, and they debate about stuff, except the subject of the stuff was the stock performance of genetically modified soybeans. So it was a show that, I mean, obviously that's something that farmers watched early in the
Mm-hmm.
morning before their workday. People in trading would watch it because there
Yeah.
was a lot of talk about what
Commodities.
was
Yeah.
going on with I mean, it focused specifically on agriculture, stock,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and ethics and stuff like that. And on that show, I started just in terms of helping to set up equipment, helping to tear down equipment. Um, and I ended up being what they call a floor director,
Mm-hmm.
which means basically, even though it aired on Sundays and we filmed on Fridays, we still filmed it as if it were a live show
Oh,
with
okay.
commercial breaks. And my job was basically counting them down to when we were live, kind of like you did for me.
Yeah.
Uh, before we went live, I would count them down so that the host knew when he was live and when to start talking, and then I would give them all the hand signals for when it was time to wrap it up. When we were getting
Mm-hmm.
up to a commercial break, and if they were really in a heated debate, I would have to get their attention and go like this
Oh,
to wrap it up, and then the 2-minute warning till to commercial, the 1-minute warning, and then the countdown, and it was precise, like had to be out on the dot, and so yeah, sometimes sometimes like I had to move around to get their attention and
that's
stuff
so funny. Those are
like
things
that.
like we never think about when you're watching something. Like
Right.
I don't have anybody over here that's like telling me what to do. Maybe I should sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, that was I got a couple other freelance gigs, but that was the most consistent, was
mhm,
that one.
mhm. So
Um,
did you end up working for Big Idea while you were in Chicago?
a year later,
A
a year
year later,
later,
okay.
they went through a hiring spree.
Mhm.
They were really building up staff to, they already had Veggie Tales going, and those
Yeah.
episodes were steadily in production. They were ramping up for their first feature film. So a
Oh,
lot of positions opened up,
okay.
and
Yeah.
my buddy Josh, who was already there, he gave me the heads up
Yeah.
that that was in the works, and I don't remember the exact order that everything happened, but I put in a call again. Um, that was back when a lot of communication was still phone calls.
Yeah, I use my phone all the
Um,
time, but I
yeah,
don't know, maybe 10% I'm actually talking on it, maybe 5%, I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, they got me in there for an interview. Um, and I was hired as the visual development administrative assistant. So I worked in the department with the design artists and the storyboard artists, some of who made their way there from Disney. So I was
Mhm.
working with some pretty awesome Disney artists and art
That's great.
directors, and some that came from other areas, but very talented group. And for my first 3 months there, I was the one that, again, they were still using physical story pads and pencils and canvases and paints. And then
Wow.
they had a couple guys that were digital, and a couple that were more on the physical paper and charcoal or pencil or paints. I oftentimes scanned in everything so that it
Mhm.
ended up digital. hung a lot of that artwork up for pitches for the directors and stuff like that. And
Oh.
then eventually became a production assistant, got a little bit more involved in the actual meetings and taking notes and tracking schedules and interfacing with other departments between the designers and storyboard artists
Yeah.
and the editorial department, and handing things off to the technical and animation teams.
So
And
it sounds like I've never worked in that field, right? But
yeah,
it sounds to me like in my area of expertise, it's like a project manager,
yeah,
right? You're like
yeah,
coordinating all the people that are doing all the things in all the different areas,
yep,
trying to get this thing from the cradle to the grave, right?
yeah,
And that makes a lot of sense now, because
mhm,
like we tend to use like terminology that we're familiar with in our fields, and to other people they're like, man, I have no idea what that means. My
yeah,
sister's a project manager. I know what a project manager
nice,
is. I've
nice,
managed some projects with
yeah,
myself.
yeah.
So that makes
Similar
so much
to
sense.
a production manager, or back in that time, the going phrase for kind of the department of the producer, production manager, production coordinators, and production assistants, that was referred to as production management, the production
Okay,
management
okay.
team. These days, most studios have just abbreviated that to production. You've got
Yeah.
your various creative teams, and then you've got your production team. But
Oh,
yeah, back then it was the production management team. So
yeah.
so yeah, lot of
That's
project
interesting.
management specifically for TV, film, or animation.
Oh, that's interesting. So I remember, having some conversations, like especially so when you were talking with my nephew Roth,
Yeah.
you were talking about some of the episodes that you worked on. You actually got to voice some of those, didn't you?
Yeah, none of the main characters, but eventually as I moved around and became a production coordinator, and then for a while there, I worked in a number of different departments, and eventually landed in a role where I was coordinating the record sessions and booking the talent and getting the scripts ready for people. And after they recorded all of the main voices and talent for kind of the secondary or background characters, and in VeggieTales that was always carrots and peas, carrots and peas in the background. It'd be like, hey, who wants to go in there and be some background voices? So sometimes it's
So
just sort of,
awesome, man.
what they call group walla or reaction noises and stuff like that.
Oh,
In some, I have some lines, but again, kind of softer in the background, not
yeah.
main characters. You can hear me saying stuff like "snow in the desert." Well, I'll be, and another one making pirate noises. Arr, arr.
That's hilarious. That's right. That's so funny.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was, at the time, that
great.
was a non-union project, so
Uh,
they could have anybody jump in the booth.
oh, okay.
Um, yeah, eventually that did become, well, after a number of sales, because Big Idea at one point did go bankrupt. Big Idea
Yeah,
was in
I remember.
Chicago. They went through a bankruptcy. They were bought by another company and kind of nursed back to health. But that new company moved us down to Nashville. That's what brought
Yeah.
me from
So,
Chicago
okay.
down.
So that was going to be my next question, because
Yeah.
I mean, we met in Nashville. You had a small group at your house. We were going to Cross Point. We went there, and we had some interesting conversations.
Hmm.
But like, I remember one time I wanted to bring this up because you said that you wanted to bring him into the conversation. So, you talked about your dad being an artist
Hmm.
and how he worked on some of the original artwork, or the like prototypes for He-Man and Masters of the Universe, right?
Right.
And
Right.
and then you were looking at the negatives on a
Oh,
on a
right.
day that like you lost power, right? And you were using your iPad or
Yes.
something
You're
to
right.
project it onto the right.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
then that got you connected with some collectors overseas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Crazy.
So yeah, to go back a minute, my dad didn't work on the prototypes. He did work on some early art. In fact, this is a pencil drawing of his for a promotional release of the character Manny Faces.
Okay.
Uh, well, it's kind of hidden behind some stuff, but that up there is called a shelf runner or a shelf talker. And in 1982, in the original wave of toys that came out in the toy stores, that was part of a display shelf that they were displayed on. That artwork was, and he painted some of that early artwork for display shelves or for a press pack, and so yeah, we had some things sent from from my dad's art director. They indirectly came like from Mattel, but they send it through the art director out to my dad for
Yeah.
reference. And so so yeah, like, to clarify for anybody who's into toy collecting, not original prototypes, but we did get some things in there that were like, I guess, marketing prototypes, and
Oh, okay.
resembled some of the toys that were going to come out. But this was the year leading up to the toy release, so I
Yeah.
learned about He-Man and Skeletor and Castle Grayskull before anybody else did. Before
Insider
anybody else,
information.
for like the
That's
people
so
working on it.
cool.
And yeah, this is what you're talking about right here. This was one of the things that my dad had. And yeah, I mean, I don't think you can see anything, but there's oh yeah, you sort of can.
A little bit.
So these are all slides of prototypes, and this is a little viewer. These were pretty common. Again, this is back before we could send reference images through email or chat,
Yeah.
So they would take these little slides and send them out in viewers like this. And there's about 10 of them in here. And it just cycles through them like that. And these are
Oh.
photos of the original prototypes. And yeah, I didn't think much of it. I figured everybody could.
No, everybody
So
could not. I was like, man, that's really cool.
I
What
took
is that?
I took an iPad and put it on a white screen and laid these out and took pictures with my phone and threw them up online with a little blurb, and it went viral overnight.
Yeah.
And so I started getting calls from people now I was in Nashville. So some people reached out to me in the States, in Canada, over in Italy,
Italy, yeah, I remember
and
that.
then now these slides are like printed up in books. Got to interface with some of the people and help with what eventually was used in the Toys That Made Us on Netflix. And
Wow.
there's actually a great He-Man documentary, He-Man and She-Ra documentary, I think called The Power of Grayskull, but yeah, that's on Netflix. So yeah, I had no idea how rare that was, but back then people didn't keep good
No.
archive
Yeah.
departments. So they probably had tons of copies of these photos, and they all ended up in the trash. So I have the only known physical photos, but
That's
they
crazy.
they paid one of my colleagues and I to do really large resolution scans and did some
Wow.
color correcting for print. And then they actually released now you won't see my name on the boxes or anything, but in past years, Mattel has actually released what's called the Lords of Power collection, and they're characters based on some of these prototypes. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, so
that's so cool.
these aren't vintage. These are kind of the ones that came partially from these pictures. They had a lot of sketches and stuff, and some of them had other photos, but not many. So yeah, that led to a lot
That's
of
so cool,
exciting
man.
stuff.
That's really
Uh,
cool.
Yeah, and as you can tell, I'm still a big He-Man fan.
Yeah. You don't say.
I can't wait for this movie to come out next month. There's a new
Mhm.
He-Man movie, live action, coming out next month.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've
so
been
excited.
seeing stuff about that. I'm excited too.
Yeah,
So, what's funny is that I think the last time I saw you like in person, maybe it's not the last time. One of the last times is when we went to go see it was game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And we went to the Ascend Amphitheater, right, in
yep,
Nashville, right?
yeah,
And so we got there, like we all met at my apartment, right?
right.
It
I
was like our
remember
small
that.
group, and then we got in an Uber, and it was like $6. It was like only like a mile, right, from
Yeah,
Germantown to Ascend, and it was $6.
nice.
But then when the game
What a
let out,
ripoff, right?
it was surge prices, and I looked on my phone. I'm like, dude, it's like $30.
Right.
And you're like, well, we could just walk. And the thing is about like when people would come visit us, when
Yeah.
we lived in Germantown, I would be like, please don't stay downtown. Please don't stay downtown. They go, oh, we're downtown. We want to meet on Broadway. And I'm like, overpriced food, all these people, this and that. And then like getting there, like you could walk back then, but there's some like really dark, kind of sketchy places. But I was telling somebody, I was like, yeah, we walked back to the apartment. It was just Andy and me. And I said, I wasn't
That's
afraid.
right.
I
Yeah.
said, I said, people thought that I would be the bodyguard because I'm bigger than you. But I'm like, no, I wasn't afraid because we're walking. Andy's walking, smoking a cigar, wearing flip flops, and he's like a black belt in Taekwondo. So I'm like, yeah, I'm good, man. And
Right.
then we get back to the apartment. You're like, all right, man, I'll see you later. You hop on your scooter with the open face, and you're still smoking a cigar, and we just zoomed off. And I was like,
That
am I
was
in a
me.
movie? What
That
was
was
that?
me. I
I was
used
like,
to
what is that?
back then. So yeah, I rode that scooter for about 10 years. I loved
Yeah.
it. And back then I smoked about 3 cigars a
Oh
week.
man. Ooh.
I'm down to about one a year now.
That's good. That's good because I am a former smoker myself, and I almost died from pneumonia. So
Oof.
PSA to anybody out there, if you're smoking, it's not
Yeah,
good for you.
right.
Just
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
But
years
yeah,
ago.
so do you want to know how the Taekwondo thing happened? Because that was
Yeah.
never a plan. That was never a plan. It became what I thought would just be a very short thing into a hobby that I really liked into a
Oh, that's
job.
awesome.
Um, but the reason it happened was I was working a job, and it was my first time as an adult that I truly worked for an absolute bully of a boss.
Mm.
And I mentioned this before when I was talking about the internships, but still at this point in working, I still hadn't really found my voice, and
Yeah.
I had some confidence, but I have a lot more now than I did back then,
Mhm.
Um, and so I sort of entered this season of kind of shock and anxiety
Mm.
because I didn't know what to do. Um, but I worked for a boss who would, I mean, nothing that caused harm, but very demeaning things in the office,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like you failed me today.
Oh.
Or
Oh, no.
hold out your hand for a minute. Uh, I would be like this, and she would be like, no, flip it over. And I would turn it over, and she was like, you didn't impress me today. And the first time it happened, I thought she was being funny. So I was like, okay, okay. I kind of laughed. And she was like, no, I'm serious. I'm really
Oh.
disappointed in you. And so lot of disappointing little head slaps and that hand thing. And then saying things like, you're so insignificant that if you fell off the face of the earth, it would be weeks before anybody would
Oh,
know anything had changed. Truly a bully. I mean,
that's awful.
bully tactics. And it really freaked me out. I liked the company. I liked the project I was working on. I'm not going to mention what, because I company and show aside, it was just such a weird pairing up of
Yeah.
this producer. There was a group of us. Now, she did have her favorite people and the
Oh
people she
yeah,
didn't like.
always.
She called them her good children and her bad children.
No.
She would
Oh,
say, when I produce a show, I am the mother and you're all my children. And you're either a good child, and if you're a good child, I will reward you. And if you are a bad child, you will be punished.
that's ridiculous.
And gosh. We just heard so many people. She would, slam the door shut and just scream at the top of her lungs. When I saw the original movie, The Devil Wears Prada, I couldn't laugh at it because it felt too much like
Oh
this
no.
situation. Um, and so I started having panic attacks
Yeah.
twice a day. I would have a panic attack. I could feel it coming on riding my scooter to work, and I would have
Oh
to pull
no.
off into a parking lot until it passed and then finish my ride into work. I would also have one every day about 10 minutes before I left the office, and would go into the bathroom and close the stall, and my arms would go numb and I felt like I was going to pass out, and I never did. But I went to the doctor. The doctor sent me to an anxiety counselor. Um, and and man, that anxiety counselor was great. John Wade in Franklin, Tennessee, although I don't know if he's still practicing or if he's still there, but amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
He had me read a book uh, just about what's physically going on inside your body with panic attacks. He taught me some breathing techniques, but then the most important thing that he did is he said, because I was ready to quit,
Mhm.
and he said, before you quit, I want you to, I don't care if it's for a month or more, but I want you to go to a martial arts class.
Hmm.
Um, and tell the instructor going in there that what you're dealing with, and that your counselor thinks that you need a controlled environment to learn in practicing with other people about the fight or flight complex, and
Okay.
learn about, you know, keeping calm in times of stress and how to stand up for yourself.
Mhm.
And so I was never interested in martial arts. I was never interested, besides loving the movie Karate Kid, like I never wanted to join a martial arts class. But I went to the closest academy to where I worked. It was a Taekwondo academy. I really lucked out in it being a great place with a great instructor, Mr. Robinson, who I mean, different people join martial arts for many different reasons, and like he really understood the different reasons, and he understood while I was there, and really helped me with some of that stuff. And I learned a lot about just finding places of relaxation even within stress.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that I don't deal with anxiety anymore, but holy cow, it's been forever since I've had a panic attack. Like,
Yeah.
that really, and it helped me find way more confidence. It helped
Yeah.
me find what in martial arts you call a command voice, but
Yeah.
just, I mean, it helped me find what I would call the voice of a leader,
Yeah.
and allowed me to eventually get into some supervision roles or a
Yeah.
department head
I was
role.
I was
And
really hoping you weren't going to say that it helped you roundhouse kicker to the face or
no, you know what? After that season, when I kind of got back to a calm place, I actually did turn in my resignation.
Uh-huh.
But then like the following week, not because of me, there were so many people that had issues with her, and
Yeah.
she actually did cause some pain to another employee there,
Oh
which
boy.
so she ended up losing that position and not being there anymore. And they were like, "Do you still want to leave, or do you want to stick around now?"
That's great. That tells me that you had a really good relationship with other people, and
Yeah,
they really
yeah.
didn't like what she was doing.
No,
You know
no.
what? It seems like we just got on this call,
I know,
but
I
dude,
know.
it's been like an hour.
Yeah,
What I want you to do, like when we're done, is
yeah.
I want you to go back to the sign up sheet I gave you and sign up for another day, and then we
Sure.
could like keep on talking because I feel like there's so much more to your story, and then more that you can share, with other people. But
Right, right. We
man,
didn't
that's
even we didn't even get to the Canada days.
no, not yeah, and there's like other things too.
Yeah,
There's like other questions I want to ask, but it's it's been almost an hour.
yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, like I often ask people, well, often meaning 100% of the time, I ask people, at the end of their episode if they had any kind of advice for anybody. And you'd said something in your latest post that you're like, apparently I'm going to be giving some career advice,
Yeah.
you know. Everybody has experiences, and you talked about earlier on in your career that when you're trying to get on with big idea,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, networking works, and like familiarity, getting your name out there. And then I think so there's a lesson in networking, and we actually that is like the constant through every interview that I've ever done. Everybody always says networking, networking, networking. But I want to point out the thing with the martial arts. It's really something. I'll tell you, when I was in high school, people don't believe me now. When I was in high school, I was very quiet. I had like zero confidence. Youngest kid in my class, for the most part, for the most of the time, I was the smallest kid in the class.
Mm.
I cried all the time. People made fun of me. I was bullied. People on the side kind of beat me up and got away with it because I was too scared to say anything to anybody. So I think like lessons about finding your voice and finding your confidence.
Mhm.
It's huge. That's huge. And honestly, like
It was
I,
life-changing for me.
yeah, yeah.
I
And really it,
yeah.
it went from like you're bullied, you're going through anxiety, you're having panic attacks to you're walking me home in the dark. You're walking me home in the dark through downtown Nashville wearing flip flops, smoking a cigar, and then you get on your scooter, still
Uh,
smoking a cigar off in the sunset. Peace out. Not
sec
sunset, off into the night.
uh,
But
sec
it's
second degree black belt, level 1 instructor.
that's, that's so awesome, man. That is so awesome. But listen, okay. So, what is one piece of advice aside from networking and like finding your voice?
Yeah.
What is one piece of advice you give to somebody who's thinking about making a career change?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, and I don't want to just give career advice that would or career advice that would only relate to like animation or film.
Right.
But I would say, I mean, I think this pertains to a lot of things. Um, we we get sometimes a feeling or a passion for either what we want to do or what we want to do next. I mean, yeah, I right now have some passions for things that eventually, I still love production right now, but I'm also thinking about, I think 10 years down the road, there might be a different field I want to get into. And as you're looking at those passions and those interests, I would say number one, people that get into those fields and actually stick around and stick with it are the people who know that when they get there, it's not all going to be fun.
Yeah.
I work in animation and cartoons are so much fun, but you know what? A lot of days are not necessarily fun. There is a lot of stress and there's a lot of work that goes into it. The same thing might be true for any career. Like when you love something enough and are passionate enough about it, you're cool with that. And it's still what you want to do. But you do have to realize that once you get into it, don't expect a feeling where every day is going to feel fulfilling and every day feels like, this is the best job, and it might be the best job. I've had jobs where I feel like this is the best place I can be right now.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean every day or every week or every season there is going to be fun.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you're passionate about it and if you like what you're doing and you're finding worth in doing it, it's worth doing, and you'll still get something out of it. But there has to be more than just an interest in something. Now, there's always exceptions. There's always exceptions, but I think the norm is, if you're just looking at something you're interested in, usually it takes more than that. It takes passion and kind of a worth that you see in it. Um, Even on the days that are hard, even on the
Yeah.
days where things don't go well, even on the days where you make mistakes, and even on the days where maybe you haven't found your voice or your exact role in that work industry. So that's what I would say. I would say, think about not just the things that you're interested in doing, but your passion and the things that, are you really going to be passionate about that, or is it just something that you want to do if it's fun?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't.
Yeah. No, that's good. Like
Yeah,
finding a passion in something is I think really what carries you through those like not fun days,
yeah,
because if you're like just go, oh, I think I'm interested in it, and then there's like 2 or 3 like weeks where you're like, boy, this is not as exciting as I thought it was,
yeah.
and you don't have a passion for the work that you're doing,
Hmm.
then you'd be like, okay, what's next? It's like, oh, what's next? So yeah, it is definitely important to find a passion because yeah, it's not always fun. That's
Right.
good. Wait, I'm gonna write that in the chat so it's in the chat until YouTube is over with. I don't know when that will be. So wait, find a passion in what you're doing. I'm gonna paraphrase you. Find a passion in what you're doing. And I'm one of those people that has to type and talk at the same time. I don't know how to get around that. I actually was taking a certification test one time, and I chose not to go to the testing center and to do it at home, and I had to be in a room that didn't have any electronics in it or whatever, and I'm like reading and like comprehending, and then I hear this voice from the computer saying, stop reading out loud. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And then I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, stop reading out loud because they think I'm reading to somebody and somebody's like giving me cues in my ear or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
I promise I am intelligent. I just have to
No,
like read out loud sometimes. Find a passion in
right.
what you're doing because every day may not be fun.
Hmm.
May not be fun, but if you're passionate about the work you're doing, it'll carry you through those times. Yeah. That is paraphrased Andy Youssi. All right.
No, a lot of stuff I say can be paraphrased because, like, I have a thought, and sometimes I'm clumsy getting it out and use too many words. So I appreciate people that can like sum it up. Yeah,
It's okay. Even we have to read out loud while we're typing. So anyway, okay, so I'm going to end the stream, but oh, so not prepared again. I wanted to find out who is the next person. It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna be off next week, and I'll be back the week after that. And I'm trying to think who it is, but I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know. But listen, if you tuned in this long, kudos to you, man. That was like over an hour. Look at that. Just to watch a couple dudes that, walk through the city in the middle of the night, have a conversation. um, but listen, yeah, when we get out of here, don't hang up, Andy, because I'm going
okay.
to talk to you in the studio. But everybody else, thanks for tuning in. I hope you found some value in this. Like, share,